Hey everyone, I'm Nathan, and you all responded really well to my Redesigning Candyland characters video, and it was heavily requested that I do a follow-up. So, in case you missed that video, this was the board that I had growing up, but I recently found out that the whole board is given an overhaul where the characters are redesigned on a semi-regular basis. And because I myself happen to be an illustrator, I thought, what the hey, I'll throw my own hat into the ring and redesign the characters myself. So in this video, I will do a follow-up where I'll be redesigning 3 more characters, starting with Grandma Nut, which is a name that is very funny, but the humor was lost on me as a child. I think she looks very cute. She goes back and forth between having like brown hair and just being an old lady with gray hair, so I thought that I would take all of my favorite inspirations and put them into one illustration. So the biggest thing about Grandma Nut is that she has a peanut brittle house, and I find that some of the illustrations get a little too outside of how I envision Candyland. Like, I think children are so imaginative. There's this temptation to be like, what do kids like? They like playgrounds at McDonald's with windy slides. So we're gonna put a windy slide around her house. And I just feel like that isn't as intellectually or imaginatively stimulating as just really sticking with your guns with an original concept. So I was like, it's a peanut brittle house, so it just needs to be to the nines, really, really tall, like it almost looks like a tower, but I just wanted it to be this sort of almost Dr. Seuss, or it wasn't Dr. Seuss who wrote Go Dogs Go, but if you've ever seen that children's book too, there's just a lot of kind of impossible architecture that I find very lovely, and I was attracted to when I was a child. So those were the kind of intentions that I put into this particular house. And then if her whole thing is peanuts, it's like, come on y'all, Reese's, or the peanut butter cup if we're trying to, you know, not get in trademark problems or trouble. So given that that's one of the most famous peanut butter candies, I think that the iconic wrapper that's on peanut butter cups is just so, like, you can pick it out a mile away, that particular crinkle, almost coffee filter quality to it. So I wanted to incorporate a lot of peanut butter cup paper into her design because she has a bonnet or a hat traditionally. And yeah, I just literally don't reinvent the wheel. I kind of combine this bonnet, the concept of the peanut butter cup, and the flowers that are on her hat are actually peanut blossoms. You know, you've heard of cherry blossoms, but I looked up and, you know, they actually are these really cute yellow flowers that bloom before the fruit, quote unquote, the peanut, is grown. And I just found that so amusing and charming. So those yellow flowers are peanut blossoms, and I put a big peanut on her hat just to be obvious. Womp womp. I love her quilted apron. I just wanted to give her Grandma Ghibli vibes. She also has this very glazed look because I imagine she's kind of hard of hearing and is like, what? I just wanted her to be spacey, and I wanted the feeling of, oh, if I'm with this old lady, yes, I will have some delicious treats, but also, is she gonna be okay? Like, is she gonna stumble around? Can I leave her here? What's gonna happen to her? I feel like those kind of questions kind of produce more evocative, imaginative musings than some of the more stereotypical quote-unquote kid stuff from some of the other illustrations. But maybe I'm just pretentious and I'm just doing illustrations that appeal to me and no one else. And if that's the case, whatever, I don't care. It makes me happy. So that's the whole point of this challenge, is to just make myself laugh and have fun in the process. And also, you know, there's something about the concept of Candyland where the peanuts don't have to grow like how literal nuts do. So I took some inspiration from like Cabbage Patch Kids, you know, the doll line. So it's like, what if the peanut shell was in the ground and then the nuts were there, and she has to, like, instead of water them, cover them with chocolate. So you're gonna see that on her watering can, I'm gonna literally write chocolate, and all of the peanuts are already open so that they're exposed. And yeah, that's what she's doing because she has to provide the candy anization. That's not a word. She's got to put the chocolate on the peanuts, basically, is what I'm saying. And that also reminds me of a special that I watched a lot on Cartoon Network as a kid. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Scary Godmother's Halloween Spooktacular, but one little detail that is forever in my brain is like, oh, of course, the fairy godmother of Halloween has to do the jobs to make the Halloween season feel as spooky as possible. So she did this thing where she put green leaves in the oven and cooked them so they would come out toasty and yellow, orange, and red, the colors of fall, and that just always stuck with me. So I just like the idea of old spooky ladies doing tasks that are very, very whimsical and don't make sense, but she has to do it. Otherwise, how are the nuts going to be covered in chocolate? How are they going to get to the real world? I don't know. This is her job, and by golly, she's going to do it. You can see that I'm adding clouds now, and I'm doing her coloring. I do yellow and orange and like dark brown highlights, I guess lowlights, accents, if you will, to kind of ground the image. These are the colors of Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. I don't know, sue me, whatever works, works. I love that she has these yellow rubber gloves that just feels so grandma to me. And also, you know, she has to do dishes too, but they're gardening gloves. I don't know, I just find it very delightful. It was kind of a challenge figuring out how the light was working with this image. You may have noticed that I added a sun and took it out a couple of times, but I think I liked how it ended up. And originally the chocolate was a bit too red, like it looks too, how you say, ketchup. But after I get the shape language right, there you go, I darken it and add those highlights, and bada bang, bada boom, you got chocolate syrup. Oh, what a fun time that this is. So yeah, we're really reaching the end of Grandma here. I just do a little bit of lighting accents for finishing touches. We don't reinvent the wheel. And yeah, I think for the most part, this is the finished Grandma. So we're gonna move on to our next character, which is Princess Lolly. So I don't have a lot of strong feelings about her, except as a kid, I did not like her swirly hair. I don't know why, I didn't trust it. But she's often depicted as a fairy, which I think is very interesting. And I also really do love her latest design. So, in my little lollipop woods, as it is called in the lore, I don't want to stray too far from a good idea. I think the fairy route makes perfect sense. So as you can see here, I'm just quickly doing a channeling of my inner pixie hollow dream girl kind of a vibe where, yeah, I don't know, I loved those Tinkerbell movies growing up, so I think a fairy is right in line with the aesthetic of Candyland. I had a mermaid in my last video, so a girl can have wings. That is completely fine. I like that she's a princess, so I gave her her crown. I didn't want to take that away from her. I don't know the royal family tree or lineage. Like, is she related to King Candy? Or is she like the princess, like how Princess Bubblegum is the highest ruler of the Candy Kingdom, but she's called a princess? Like, is she the ruler of the woods? Who knows? I don't know how the elves feel about these candy humans. I don't know the fantastical subraces of the Candyland lore. It probably doesn't exist, so it's just for me to pontificate. Ooh, that's your SAT word for the evening! I am so excited to tell you about my inspirations for this girl. I just wanted to put her in that kind of weird plastic saran kind of material that is on lollipops from the bank. I don't know if banks still do this, but when I was a child, actually, I don't think banks gave out lollipops when I was a kid. I think when I was a child, I watched cartoons that were really old, and in the old cartoons, the cartoon character children got lollipops covered in plastic. So I lifted, I guess, that cartoon memory into my real life nostalgia, and I just wanted to channel that kind of plasticiness to her outfit. Yeah, and then when it comes to the lollipop forest, I really did look at one of the original boards to kind of get the shape language of the different trees. I write trust the process because I did not have fun doing this. This is where the fun ended for me because I wanted to add a river of jelly beans. I don't know, they're all blue. That defeats the purpose of jelly beans. That means that all of these flavors are very similar. They're supposed to be very different in flavor. But there had to be a jelly bean river because I wanted to have Swedish fish in the jelly bean river. So I make them look more like beans, and then I line it with marshmallows because, I don't know, there can't be stones. They must be marshmallows. Yeah, and I touch it up, and then I think fairly soon I'm gonna add the Swedish fish. I'm just messing with marshmallows still. Yes, this is it. These are the Swedish fish, which are also trademarked, so I don't know, maybe Candyland, the Hasbro company, is it Hasbro, aren't allowed to include Swedish fish, but I can because this is just for fun. So here I do some overlay layers on her dress to make it look more like plastic, and I thought about having a shadow where her body would be, but that kind of felt too, I don't know, it felt like insidious or inappropriate for a children's board game to have that. Like, it was a little too sensual. Looking back at it, it probably would have been fine, but yeah, no, so I kind of abandoned that. This is the finished illustration. Whoo boy, we flew through the ending of her. I'll talk about that more at the ending, but we're on to Plumpy. Plumpy is, I don't know, he has a gingerbread tree, which is a gingerbread plum tree, which is something I've never heard about, but apparently it's a very big deal in the world of Candyland. I think his lore that he's the last troll or plum keeper is giving the Lorax, I don't know, in the timeline of when his character was created and when Dr. Seuss was Loraxing, which came first, but my money's on Seuss, because this guy sounds like he speaks for the gingerbread plum trees in the similar way the Lorax speaks for the frickin' truffle trees. You know what I'm saying? I lost all my steam after the Lollipop Rainforest, and this is really not a redesign. I don't think I can say in good faith that this particular panel is a redesign. It's just kind of drawing Plumpy in my style. You know, if I had more energy, maybe I would have done something very wackadoodle, but yeah, the lollipops took it out of me. This is me talking about it because that ending to you in this time lapse seemed to fly by so quickly, but for me, experiencing it, sometimes the time lapse doesn't actually correlate to hours drawn, so getting all of that shading and then making the sky pink, I don't know, it kind of sucked the fun out. And so to inject fun back in, I was like, we're just gonna draw a sleepy little guy. And I did have fun. I did have fun because I didn't have to think. I could turn my brain off and just do the design that already existed in my style. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I make the grass purple, and this is the finished illustration. Nathan, why is the grass purple? Well, I needed more contrast with the green little troll Plumpy guy. And also, it's a fantasy world, so maybe it's candy floss or cotton candy or whatever. Maybe it's Easter grass. It's purple. Get into it. This is the finished illustration. I am really the most proud of my first 2. Like, I think having the peanut butter cups for the design of Grandma Nut is admirable, revolutionary, avant-garde, something that should be stolen from me and adopted in the mainstream depictions of Grandma Nut coming forward. And I am actually really enjoying the sparkly unicorn vomit indulgentness that is my lollipop forest, even though I really was not having fun towards the end of it. You know, sometimes that's what you gotta do. You just gotta do something beautiful and suffer to pray. What's that saying? Suffer to allow great art to come into the world. Yeah, I didn't suffer that much, y'all. Anyway, if you enjoyed this content and you want me to design 3 more Candyland characters, let me know in the comments down below. Also, just tell me which one was your favorite. And yeah, what are the 3 characters I should redesign next? And does this Plumpy count, or do I have to redo Plumpy? I'm lazy, so I probably won't listen to you if you're like, yes, you have to redo it, but I will respect your polite pointing out that I should do a formal redesign. That's it for Nathan. If you want to really support the channel, check me out on Patreon, link down below, or for just $4 a month, you can have your name in the end credits. And speaking of end credits, here they are now. Special thanks to Anna Sophia Boyd, Axilius the Great, Beck, Bodie, Blue Uwu, Kay Clark, Christopher, Dabadoodoo, Dax Quinn, Aaron Martin, Emoe, Gay Jarris, J. Johar, JD Boy 2000, Johan, Kitsune Chibiko, Lucky Paradox, Melon, Mild Mothman, Mistake, Native Runner, Orion Amastasia, Pinecone, Potion Cellar Door, Rin, Scorching Ray, Sir Camelot, Smalls the Sax Jammer, Shenanigans, Tad the Turtle, Tarthalinor, The Real Michael, Thumper Daytime, Thony, Tortilla Chips, Tuesdays Anyways, Tundra Katie Bean, and Tuppence Pies. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Nathan, and I'll upload a new video real soon. Bye!